Greetings everybody, it's time for more movies! Yay, woo, yeah, etc. Once again recording from the Skully mobile, and there's nobody around right now, so I probably won't have to turn off the lights every now and then because I'm a fucking paranoid son of a bitch. And yes, I did survive my little escapade with Sadako. Don't you worry, I am still alive, I think. And I've just recently gotten out of seeing Logan, the last part of the Wolverine-specific trilogy. Anyway, before I get into this, I should probably talk about the other Wolverine movies in the little Wolverine trilogy. Again, despite popular opinion of them, I generally liked all the Wolverine-specific X-Men movies. As many people say that, X-Men Origins Wolverine is bad, I found it, tolerable in some scenes. There were some concepts that I do like, and some concepts that a lot of fans take a lot of ire with, particularly with the whole Weapon 11 thing, but that's a can of worms I'll probably save if I ever end up reviewing X-Men Origins Wolverine. And as for the Wolverine, which was released in 2013, I thought it was okay, not great, had some pretty lackluster pacing issues and a bit of a forgettable plot, but it was still a decently entertaining watch. But as for Logan, this was a movie that I think is definitely worth a lot of praise, and again, I don't want to keep, prattling on for too long like I did with, Rings last time, so I'll try and keep my thoughts brief, and to be perfectly honest, I really don't have much to say because I just had a generally good time. But for the things that I, do have to say about it, I'll say here and, just get it out of the way. So once again, reiterating pretty much something I'll probably do every time I do one of these videos, I'll be talking about the positives, negatives, and the things that I thought were a nice little touch. And then we'll get to my final thoughts, and then I can bugger off and go home, because it is currently 11 PM at night, and I shall turn off that Rob Zombie. So the first positive thing I have to say about this movie is what I really enjoyed about it was its choreography. Generally the X-Men movies tend to have some fantastic choreography, but I felt that with this one especially, and again this is probably in part thanks to the R rating that the movie got, it was definitely allowed to be visceral, and again, in a Wolverine movie, that's something that I don't think we've really seen, and probably something that kind of added to the whole gritty atmosphere. Because, again, for those of you who've played the X-Men Origins Wolverine game, you could feel the power of Wolverine when you were cutting through foes with your bloody bone claws, man. That shit was fucking excellent, and in this movie, it definitely did it justice. But again, even onto the choreography itself, not only, and again, I say in particular for Logan and for Laura/X-23, I was really impressed with, the kind of choreography that they were doing, because, there was, again, I say flips and, kicks and slashes and all that kind of stuff, but again, it's not in the same sense of, the acrobatic scene in the Star Wars prequels. It's very visceral, and it feels very much, within the context of, the kind of Wolverine style of fighting, which, again, and I might not be making a lot of sense when I say this, but again, it's something that feels very true to the character, and again, if this is, Hugh Jackman's last outing as Wolverine, then I think this was an excellent note to go out on. I suppose my second point of praise would probably be for the bonding between, Professor X, Wolverine, and for Laura/X-23, because, honestly, and again, I'm not really sure how to describe this, but again, all throughout the movie, I honestly saw, the relationship between these three characters as The Last of Us done right. There was definitely a sense of, Logan's reproach to, caring for Laura and all that kind of stuff, even despite, Professor X's, assurance, oh, Logan, you have to care because it's part of the movie. But again, it was handled in such a way in which I feel it felt natural, for the lack of a better phrase. And especially if you've been watching a lot of the other X-Men movies, or even have a general familiarity with some of the storylines in the comics, you can see Wolverine's reproach, and definitely as it reaches a critical point in the movie, when he states that, everybody he cares about gets killed or gravely injured and all that kind of stuff, and it's something that I think, it works, and again, it adds the whole grim and grittiness of the situation, but at the same time, there are many moments in the movie which allow for characters to, you know, breathe and interact with one another. Like, I mean, because there are several points throughout the movie where, you know, Laura's childlike, and again, I say childlike in quotation marks because she was trained to be a vicious killer, don't you know? Like, I mean, because there were so many moments when she just gets a chance to act like a kid, you know, like pressing so many buttons on the elevator, picking out sunglasses and eating Pringles without, you know, paying for them or anything. And again, you know, that kind of stuff really did well to flesh out, you know, the characters and just let them breathe. And again, in a movie like this, and again, something I have to raise with a lot of media, you don't really get to see that because a lot of them just skip straight to the heavy drama stuff. But, you know, you need moments like this in grim and gritty movies so that you can become invested in the characters and you can care about their plights and their struggles. And again, Logan does that perfectly. Like, I mean, there are so many moments, like, I mean, okay, how can I phrase this simply? For the dramatic moments, the payoff, you know, in which the audience was supposed to feel sad, it felt genuine, it felt earned, and that was something that I think really makes Logan stand out compared to the Wolverine or X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, 'cause, like, I mean, I never felt the same way I did, you know, about the characters in Logan than I did about Kayla or whoever the fuck Will.i.am played in X-Men Origins Wolverine. You know, or even in the Wolverine when you were supposed to be caring about Mariko and everything. Like, I mean, this movie succeeded where those two failed, and it was in, you know, the breathing room with a lot of its characters. I suppose the third point of praise would probably be for the casting. Like, I mean, again, I can't put a lot of names to faces here, but I mean, the casting outside of, you know, the general mains, like, you know, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Patrick Stewart as, you know, Professor X, in their final, pretty much in their final roles here, I should add. Again, like a lot of the new faces, like, I mean, the main villain, I believe, well, douchebaggy villain, I should call him. I think his name is Donald, but I can't quite remember what his last name is. He was probably something in the comics. Richard E. Grant as... fuck, I forgot his name as well. I'm just gonna call him Scientist Guy. And, honestly, I think the most impressive bit of casting, I think, was with Laura and X-23, because, like, I mean, again, I'm not very critical of child actors either, because, again, like, they are kids, so I don't exactly expect anything beyond Jake Lloyd levels of acting. But again, there's something to be said about acting which involves, without even, you know, using your voice, but again, just the way in which she gave a lot of looks. I think the kid who played Laura was perfectly cast, because again, she was able to convey so much with very little dialogue, and with, you know, the most you're really getting out of her is just, you know, screams of absolute rage. Like, I mean, I'm serious, man. Like, I mean, that kid is a fantastic actress, I should say. Blimey, I'm not getting any... man, I'm not being very coherent. This is probably going to turn out worse than the bloody Triple X Return to Xander Cage Let's Talk movies, but... Anyway, I suppose the fourth point of praise would probably be how well this works as a swan song for the, you know, X-Men cast of the 2000s, which... And again, I already mentioned this, you know, time and time before in this video, but in a general sense, I think this movie did, you know, Logan and Professor X justice in terms of the way they went out. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, I can't really put my thoughts into words here, but again, it was just such a somber note that they ended on. Like, I mean, especially with how Logan died at the end of the movie, like, I mean, that was just... And again, this kind of ties into point two, his death, and, you know, the way the emotions just rolled out of, you know, Laura and Logan, it just felt earned, and there was that kind of payoff that really did set this movie in stone for me, you know? I suppose, if there was anything I could harp on about, I suppose it would probably be for the pseudo-Wolverine kind of antagonist that they use, which I feel kind of... It felt a little bit unnecessary to me. It was kind of like throwing in the Weapon 11 thing, like from X-Men Origins Wolverine, without having any explanation as to how they came about, or, you know, how the hell he was really tying into things. Because, like, I mean, as far as the movie explains to us, you know, the X kids, which were this group of mutants that were heading towards Eden, which was a safe haven supposedly for mutants, which Logan was taking Laura to. you know, it was assumed that they were based on, you know, Wolverine's biological data. And again, I'm not sure if this was explained in a previous X-Men movie, because again, I didn't really watch any of the X-Men movies after First Class, and the latest of which was probably the Wolverine back in 2013. So again, I don't know if it's explained there, but in a general sense, I just felt like there was a bit of an unnecessary element, and something that was just purely thrown in so Wolverine could have an epic final battle. But, yeah, bit of a nitpick on my end, but no, that was just something that I generally found to be, just kind of ham-fisted. As far as nice little touches go, I suppose I enjoyed, like, a lot of the sweet scenes involving, like, Logan and, Laura. Like, I mean, there was just so many, like, I mean, again, I said this before, but it really does go well to flesh out, you know, their interactions, and it just goes to really show that these two do care for each other on a very subconscious level, but it's not something that they would outright admit. And a lot of the scenes that I'm referring to was honestly just like with, again, it's the small things that, you know, build up over time and really go to showcase how deep their relationship is. And again, like, I mean, going beyond the joking stuff, like, you know, Laura just picking out, you know, like just eating globs of food when they're staying at the family's place, or, you know, the fucking hobby horse scene, or when Laura just, you know, tells Wolverine to go to sleep and then she ends up driving a car all the way to Eden, or at least their little base camp where most of the other experiments were living out. Again, it's that kind of stuff that I think really did a lot to enhance the movie, and it was just such small things, but again, it's small things that build up over time, and it ultimately made for a much better viewing experience because you were a little bit more invested in the plot. To close this video off before it rambles on any further, Logan, again, I enjoyed it. Then again, this is coming from somebody who enjoyed X-Men Origins Wolverine for as shitty as a movie as a lot of people like to say it is, and the Wolverine as well, even if I did find that to be the worst of the trilogy. If I was to recommend this to anybody, honestly, I would recommend this to anybody. Like, I mean, even if you don't follow the X-Men movies, I think it is a nice movie to just... I think it is just a nice movie to watch, and again, I did say this jokingly earlier, but I feel like a lot of the plot of this movie was The Last of Us done right. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of good things to say about that game, but in a general sense, I think again, if you're willing to invest in Wolverine, Laura, and Professor X and just see a lot of their struggles, I think it really is worthwhile, because there are just so many moments in this movie that just make the whole story work for me. And again, I'm sorry if I'm not really being as descriptive or, you know, very well thought out of my criticisms, but I don't know, this movie just hit me right here in my two hearts. So, yeah, Wolverine. I mean, Logan, you fucking idiot. Anyway, Logan, good movie, go see it in cinemas, right now. Anyway, on that note, I'm Skully, keep it new metal, and I'm fucking gonna do some shit. Work on the next review, because the Sonic Marathon made me tired. Catch you on the flip side, guys.